Ladies, gentlemen, Speakerhead Squad, what's going on? It's your boy Speakerhead and welcome back to another video. As you all know, I've built plenty of mega bases in Palworld with a wide variety of uses. However, I recently got a comment asking me to make a base that was made for multiple people, which made me realize I haven't actually made a mega base that was specifically meant for more than one person to use. So after spending a lot of time designing and building, I made a mega base that's fully ready for 8 players to use. Also, when I say fully ready for 8 players, I literally mean giving 8 players everything they would need to start playing and exploring the world right away. Finally, just as the thumbnail states, which I'm sure is what caught most people's attention, but this world is completely free to download and use for yourself. Down in the description of this video, there will be a Google Drive folder where you'll find the world files along with instructions on how to get the files onto a world. And even though I do put this in the instructions, I do want to warn everyone that if you do plan on downloading this world, you'll also get all of my achievements due to them being tied to both my player and world. Also, don't forget to use the new world when adding these files to your game, since they'll overwrite any previous data on that world. Now, getting back to talking about the mega base, as you guys saw by the title, this base is made for 8 players. However, Palworld's multiplayer feature only makes it so 4 players can play on a world at a time. However, thanks to today's sponsor Berrybyte, they can easily solve that issue for you. Berrybyte is a server hosting service that allows you to create and run dedicated servers on a wide variety of games, including Palworld. I've heard you all enjoy my upgrade guides due to them being simple and straight to the point, and thankfully setting up a server with Berrybyte is as well. All you have to do is decide on how many players you want on the server, whether you're on Xbox or Steam, and where you want the server to be located. Luckily, they have servers across the globe, so no matter where you are, Berrybyte has you covered. And with their servers using the latest Ryzen-based hardware, you'll never have to worry about a laggy experience while hosting your server. And just like that, you can have a private dedicated server for you and your friends to play on. They even have configurable backups for your world, so you don't ever have to worry about losing your progress. Plus, with their affordable prices for Palworld servers starting at just $7 a month, there's no better place to get an awesome dedicated server. On top of their great prices, if you use my promo code SPEAKER20, then you can save yourself an extra 20% off your next server. Once again, that promo code is SPEAKER20 to save yourself an extra 20% off your next server. So if you're interested in hosting a dedicated server or just want to support the channel in general, you can check out Berrybyte by clicking the links in the description below. Thank you very much, Berrybyte, for sponsoring the channel, and without further ado, let's get back into the video. So before we start going through this mega base, I do want to go over some of the general dimensions of it along with where it's located. Starting off with base dimensions, the floor is going to be a 15 by 15 square with the corners taken off to make it fit inside the base circle. On top of this, the first floor is also going to have metal defensive walls surrounding the entire building with doors on all 4 sides to leave through. As for the height of this structure, there's going to be a total of 7 floors with each of them having their own unique heights. The first floor is 3 walls high, the second floor is 7 walls high, the third and fourth floor are 4 walls high, the 5th floor is going to be 3 walls high, and lastly the 6th floor is going to be 2 walls high. But that's going to bring the total height of this base to 23 walls high. Finally, when it comes to where this base is located, I'll show where it is on the map right now along with its general coordinates. Also, for those who are curious, this is the same spot where I built my mega farm at, since I really like this location. But now that we've gone over all the basics for this base, let's hop over to it and start checking everything out. Alrighty, so here we are in front of this massive mega base here. As you can see, it is really big, but I mean, when you're building a base for 8 people, you gotta fit a lot of things into it, so of course it's gotta be big. But as usual, we're just gonna do a quick walkthrough of this space just to kind of show off everything. Also, just like my past couple of mega bases, I did take a bunch of pictures of this base for those who might want some more still images rather than just this quick walkthrough. But without further ado, let's actually start going through things. So starting off here, as you guys can see, we do have this massive wall surrounding the entire base. And for those who are curious about how I got this defensive wall to fit perfectly inside this circle, I did show it off in my Japanese style mega base, so definitely go check out that video if you're interested in that. But essentially, it's going to be that same technique here, but made with metal walls instead of the wooden ones. And then, like I did mention earlier in the video, there are going to be entrances on all 4 sides, so all these flat sides here, there are going to be one of these doors. But to actually go in the base here, when you walk on in, as you can see, you have plenty of defenses for any sort of raids that happen. So to just kind of show this off quick, we do have lights on both sides here, so that way you can be defended even at night. And then on top of that, you do have 4 machine guns here. I would have used the rocket launchers, but I figured they'd cause too much explosive damage, so I figured machine guns would work a bit better. But like I said, we got 4 of them in total. We got 2 on this side and 2 on that side, and every single one of these crates here has plenty of ammo for these machine guns, so you're fully ready to go. And then if for some reason you do need some more ammo, we do have workbenches on all 4 corners here, so that way you're able to craft any extra ammo if you need it. But then moving on to this other side here, we're going to do a quick run through, but they're all going to be the same. The only difference is we're going to have these advanced chests on this side and that other side here, so if you want to stack up some extra ammo, you can do that as well. And then just quickly running through here, like I said, this is all going to be the same setup, and all these crates have ammo in them, so once again, you're all set and ready to go. But otherwise, that is everything to talk about on this outer ring here, so without further ado, let's quickly sprint into the actual main building. So now that we're actually in the building on this first floor here, you can see there is quite a bit going on, and we will go through all of it, starting off with this center part here. As you can see, we have a large generator with some small ones all around it, so you got plenty of electricity all stored up. And then I did, of course, circle it with some monitoring stands on all four sides. You don't really need that many, but I figured just having them down here would be nice. But moving on to this wall here, as you can see, starting in this corner, we do have these alarms, so if you are being raided, you can set your pals to attack. Moving on from that there, we do have a small spa just in the corner just to fill that up, plus an extra spa spot. After that, we're going to have all these advanced chests here. You're not really going to need them for the ovens as much, but we do have some supplies in them. So the only supplies that's going to be over here on this side is going to be all this honey and all this cotton candy for food crafting. But speaking of food, over here, moving on to the center, we do have 4 large ovens, so you have plenty of spots to craft any food if you need it. And then finally, the only other thing to mention on this side here is we're going to have one of the Japanese inspired spas. I just really like these, plus they work a little bit better in bases since they're a little bit smaller. Then moving on to this side here, so there's not really much to talk about. It's just a door and then the stairs to get up to the other floors here, and it's going to be the same on the other side over there. But then on this wall here, it's going to be the same kind of setup as the other side for the most part, besides a couple of changes. So once again, we have the alarm, we have the spot, and then we do have the chests here, but we have some different stuff in these. But as you guys can see, we do have a full chest of just regular ingots, and then the second one isn't going to be completely full, but you're going to have a lot of extra ingots in here as well. Then up here, you're going to have your refined metal ingots along with your pal metal ingots, and as you can see, you got plenty of those as well. And then in the very top chest here, you're going to have all of your sort of advanced metals, so you're going to have your plasteel, your hexalite, your hallowed bars, and along with your coralum. And as you can see, you have a decent amount of all these materials as well, not as much as some of the lower tier metals, especially the coralum, since that's pretty annoying to get, but you do have a decent amount to get you started. But then moving on here in the center wall here, as you guys saw already, we do have 4 large furnaces, so you can cook any sort of ingots you need to. And then once again, we do just have another Japanese inspired spa in this corner, so you got plenty of spas on this floor. But other than that, that is everything to go over on this floor. I think it turned out pretty well, but without further ado, let's move on to the next floor here, which is going to be where all the bedrooms are at. So once you come up one of these stairwells here, whether it be on this side or on the other side here, you're going to be in the main area where all the bedrooms are going to be at. On top of this, this is where a lot of the things are going to be, where I didn't really want to put them in each individual room, or I can only put one at a base, for example, the guild chest, but this is going to be like the community upgrade area. So starting with this outer area first before we get into the bedrooms, on this wall here, we're going to have a pal merchant area. And as you can see, we do have a little snowman ready to sell you some goods, but if you did want to sell any pals or anything, you could sell them here. And then I just decided to put some plants around just to make it all look nice. But then turning around here, going up this staircase here, this is where the guild chest is going to be, as I mentioned earlier. And then as you can see on the other side there, that's where your global pal box is going to be if you want to access that. But then moving to the center here, I do want to quickly talk about this first, since I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. So we do have this little lower hanging ceiling area right here. So it's nothing super crazy. I don't actually have a glider access to go up there, but essentially we do have some Cthulhu statues on all 4 sides just to kind of have them up there. And then essentially all I did to actually make this happen is I just built these pillars from the ceiling downward, and then from there I just attached all these platforms and it was able to kind of hang up there. But I really do like how that kind of turned out, plus if I try putting lights on the ceiling it wouldn't really work out too well, so I'm glad I was able to put some lights in this lower area. But then just quickly talking about this middle area, as you guys can see, this is where the pal box is going to be, so if you're going to be actually teleporting on this base, you'll spawn in on this floor instead of the first one. And luckily with the way I built this ceiling, you shouldn't have any sort of issues spawning up there. You should always spawn right in front of this pal box here. But then behind the pal box here, we do have our food box, and this is going to be the one that's going to have all of your sort of food that's for work speed or combat related stuff, but all of that is going to be in this one. And as you guys can see, if you end up downloading this world, you should be pretty well stocked up on everything. But then just talking about this other side fast, on this side we're going to have our statue of power up there along with our pal condenser on the other side there. And then finally on this wall we're going to have a regular item merchant spot spot. Once again, we have a little snowman kind of mounting the station there, but otherwise we do have a spot if you want to sell some items. But now that we've gone over everything on this floor, we can actually start going through the bedrooms here. So in total, like I said, there's going to be a total of 8 rooms here. So there's going to be 1 on this side, 1 on that side, 2 up that stairwell, and then it's going to be the same on that other side over there. And instead of showing off all 8 rooms, since they're all going to be identical, I'm just going to show off this one and then the upper one here, since the upper ones are slightly laid out different than the lower ones. But to start going through these rooms here, so at the front door you do have some nice lights plus a nice sign that you can put your name up there. And then we do have some nice little carpets as usual. As you guys know, always got to wipe your feet. But then coming into the rooms here, so you have a pretty nice spacious room, all things considered. But yeah, everyone has a nice room and a lot of stuff to work with in here. But to just go over everything in this room fast, to start off in this corner, first off you have a lamp right there for some lighting, plus you do have 4 advanced chests for your own personal kind of storage space. And then in every single one of these rooms, I did show off the picture earlier, but in every single one of these first chests, everyone will have their own little starter kit in here. Now I will admit I might have gone a little overboard with the starter kit here, but this should be everything a player could need to just start playing the game and exploring the world. But once again, every single player should find these starter kits in their rooms in these first chests here. But other than this chest having some items in it, all these other chests are going to be completely empty and ready to use for storage. But then moving along the room here, we do have some egg incubators here. We do have some large ones on the roof, but if you want to kind of incubate your own eggs, you can do that in your own room. And then between the egg incubators, you do have a little repair bench if you do want to repair your items. But moving on from that, we do have a nice little fridge right here along with a cooking station if you want to have all that stuff in your room as well. And then in the very corner of these rooms, we do have an appearance station, so if you do want to change your character's appearance, you can do that here. And I will show off all the outfits you do have available to you on this world. So starting with hats here, as you guys can see, I do have every single hat available to you, so you have all those options, even the raid boss hats. And in terms of armor, as you guys can see, I have all those unlocked as well, so if you want to use any of those for your appearance, you can do that. I will mention, as of recording this, the Halloween costume should be available, and I have done the mission for that, but I didn't get the costume yet, and I did kind of message Palworld support about that, but hopefully by the time you guys get this world, it should be available on it. Either way, I guess the point is, on this world, if you end up downloading it, you should have all of these different appearance options available for you. But then moving on with the tour here, this is going to be the little bedroom corners here, so you're going to have a nice little Japanese style desk you can kind of sit down and relax at. But then besides the desk here, as you can see, you got a nice lamp for some extra lighting, a little bonsai tree, and a little medicine rack right there along with a plant on top of that. And just quickly talking about the view here, even though you can get some better views from higher up on the base, each of these rooms do have a pretty decent window to look out. But then moving on from the desk here, in this corner you're gonna have your bed along with a little nightstand if you want to store anything little in there. And then just kind of moving down from here, you're gonna have a little portable PAL box. I know you do have the main one in there, but everyone does have their own little one in the room, along with also having a dimensional PAL box in case you want to access that as well. So moving on from that, we're gonna have a nice little spa right here, so you might have some random pals kind of running in here, and you can obviously delete this if you don't want it in here, but you do have it in your room. But then in the corner here, we are gonna have a nice chill spot right here, so once again another lamp for some lighting. But then you're gonna have a nice little couch here, some plants, and a nice TV to watch. And once again, with the view and everything, just kind of chill in here, you do have a decent view of everything. But then moving along this wall here, we do have some low tier benches in all of these rooms. I do have some advanced ones up at the very top here on one of these other floors, but every single player does have some low tier workbenches in case they need them. And then finally, the very last thing in this room here is going to be the little costume station, which, as I mentioned before, I did do the Halloween mission, so you do have the Zoe costume. So if just for Zoe herself, or if you want to do it for Zoe and Grisbolt, you do have that as well. But that is going to be everything in every player's room, so hopefully that's enough stuff for people to kind of work with. And something else I will mention is there is a lot of customization you can do in these rooms. So with the way I built this structure, you're actually able to replace these floors and have it so it's not going to change the floors on the ceiling of the floor below it or above it. So to give a bit of an example here, so let's say you wanted wooden floors and roofs instead of these kind of nice and clean ones. So if you end up replacing that, and then we end up going up to the other floor here, as you can see, when we come in this room, all these floors are going to be the same because there is going to be a layer in between these floors and the other floors. But essentially, you can end up changing your floors and ceilings any way you want to, and you could change these outer walls as well. However, they will show through since those are going to be the same walls you see on the outside. But realistically, you can end up designing these rooms any way you want to, and once again, you do have a decent amount of room to work with in each of these rooms. floors. But since we're already up here, just to quickly show off this room, as you can see, it's going to be the same exact layout as the other room. The only difference is the appearance station has been changed to where the door is at the lower floor. And that's obviously because there's going to be a door right there, so you can't really have an appearance station right there, can you? But like I said before, all these rooms are just going to be the same exact room layout, and I'll even show in this chest you do have all the same kind of starter kit in here as well. But that is going to be everything I have to show off on this floor here. Once again, I'm not going to show off all these other rooms since they're going to be exactly the same as the ones I just showed off. So now before we actually move on to the next floors here, there is one thing I want to show off on this floor. So if you end up coming to the side with the global PAL box, you'll notice there is a door right here. But if you end up coming through this door here, you'll end up dropping into this lower section here, which will show off more of what I meant with the different layers. So as you guys can see, there's plenty of open space in this area down here, so you can feel free to use this area for whatever you'd like. But essentially this is how I made it so you can customize your floors and ceilings without them actually changing the floors and ceilings on the other floors. I said floors and ceilings a lot, so hopefully that made sense. And I will admit, if you end up using this area for stuff, these ceilings will end up changing if you end up changing those ceilings in your rooms, but otherwise this is a nice little spot if you need it for storage or anything like that. In fact, as you guys can see, we do have a little room right here, and we do have a couple things here, just a little lumbering station and our little witch cauldron, and that's honestly because I didn't really know where to put them on the base. I might end up changing that feature, but right now they live here. Other than this little room here, that's going to be the only thing down here. I mean, as you guys can see, it is pretty empty, but once again, there is this little storage area or whatever you want to use it for down here if you'd like. Also, if you end up getting lost, we do have a little exit sign right there to kind of point out where the ladder is so you can end up getting out. But now that we've gone through this little room here, now we can officially start moving up here. So up this staircase, we do have another alarm in case you are being raided. And then also I'll just kind of point it out right now, in all these staircases, we do have plenty of lighting on all of them, so you do have plenty of lighting at nighttime. But now that we're up here, as you guys can see, this is going to be kind of like your main kind of working area. So you're going to have all of your ore production stuff on this side, and then you're going to have all your assembly lines on this side. But to kind of start off on this floor, when you first walk up here, you do have a little mini PAL box here, so that way you can spawn in any PALs from this level if you want to. Then on the other side of it, we do have another monitoring stand, so that way you can assign any PALs to any of these workstations. Moving on from that though, to the center, we do have two item retrieval machines, so one on this side and one on the other side there. Then I also decided to put some extra accumulators in here just for some extra electricity at this base. But starting with the left side here, since this is the side we're on, we do have a Japanese inspired spa right here and behind it as well, so you have some spots for your PALs to rest. But then on this lower floor here, we're gonna have our wood mining stations, our stone mining stations, some small ore mining stations, along with one large ore mining station. And you will see in a second here that that does end up sticking through the floor, but it doesn't actually get in the way of anything. But then along with all these mining stations here, we do have plenty of advanced chests on both sides here, so you have plenty of spots to store all the ore you end up mining. But then on this corner, along with the opposite one, you're gonna have some medical racks here to make sure your PALs are all nice and healthy. And as you guys can see, if we end up going in this, you have plenty of medical supplies for all your PALs. Then in this corner, along with all four corners, you're gonna have an ice crusher along with electric pylon and some alpha and beta wave generators. But then moving above these mining stations, you're gonna have some more mining stations up here. So up here, you're gonna have your pure quartz, your coal, your sulfur, along with your hexalite mining stations. And as you can see by some of these mining stations, some of the PALs have actually been mining at them, so they are actually able to be accessed by PALs. But you're gonna have two of the pure quartz stations, two of the coal stations, two of the sulfur stations, and then finally three of the hexalite ones, since I figured that's what most people are gonna be needing. And then just like the lower floor, you do have a bunch of advanced chests right there, along with a couple right there for some extra storage for any of these ores. So that's gonna be all the mining stations up here. But before we actually move on to the other side, I do want to point out what's in these little rooms over to the sides here. So in all four of these corners here, I had a little bit of extra room to build some stuff, so I decided to build some nice little hangout room for players. So to just quickly go over this, when you first come in here, you got a nice little bookshelf, some plants and everything, and a little cabinet right here. And then kind of moving on here, you do have some chairs you can kind of just sit down and relax at while your PALs are working. And then the only other things in this room are going to be a vending machine, the little Grisbolt machine, and then a shelf here, since I really just like these shelves. But yeah, nothing super crazy in this room, but you do have a nice little kind of spot to hang out if you do have your PALs kind of working and you're just sitting idle or something. And like I said, all four of these rooms and all of these corners are going to be exactly the same, so I'm not going to bother going through all of them. So this is your one look through of all these. But I will say, if you end up just kind of hanging out here, it looks pretty good in my opinion. I really like how it turned out. So moving on to this other side here, like I said, I'll just quickly point it out. You do have an ice crusher and the wave generator plus the electric pylon in the this corner, so all 4 corners the same. But then on this side here is where all your assembly lines are going to be at. So on this first floor here is where all your regular advanced assembly lines are going to be. The first assembly lines here are going to be the sphere assembly lines. The next ones are just going to be your regular kind of assembly lines, and the last one are going to be your weapon assembly lines. But since there's 2 of each assembly line, there should be plenty of spots for each player to kind of work on anything they need to. But then just like the other side, we do have plenty of advanced chests on this side along with the other side for anything you end up crafting at these assembly lines. Then moving on to the upper floor here, you're going to have even more assembly lines up here. For starters, you're going to have 4 of the coin assembly lines up here, so you got plenty of spots to craft any cash if you need to. And then on the very ends here, I have them flip-flop, so these are on both ends, but we do have some PAL disassembly machines, so that way you can disassemble any PALs you have. And then once again, we do have plenty of advanced chests up here, along with an advanced chest on each side here for anything you get from these machines. But that's going to be everything on this production floor here. I'm pretty happy with how it all turned out, but now let's move on to the next floor here. So moving up this staircase here, we're going to be on this next floor, and this is where your PAL expedition station is, along with a lot of your fishing stations. So to go through this floor, talking about the outer stuff first, and then kind of talking about this center stuff here. So if you come over to this side, over on this side, along with the other side over there, we're going to have a bunch of PAL pods, and we do have 50 at this base if you do want 50 PALs working at this base. And as you can see, I do currently have it set to only 15 PALs working at this base, but if you end up going into the world settings, you can change that to 50. And then of course, if you only end up using 15 PALs, you can end up getting rid of a lot of these PAL pods. Then kind of moving along here, you do have 2 large fishing stations on this side, once again all kind of lined up with each other and looking nice. And then on both sides of these fishing stations, we do have some advanced chests, so any kind of materials you get from these fishing stations, you do have a spot to store that. But then moving along here, once again, we got some more PAL pods and everything, but in these corners, we do have some different stuff. So in this corner, along with that other corner there, we're going to have some little medical stations here. So this is where your advanced medical production station is going to be. But then besides the medical station, just to kind of fill this area out, we just put some shelves and everything, plus some plants, and overall, I think it turned out pretty nice. Just to kind of show that off, you do have that medical station here, and then you do have the same thing over here, just flip-flopped. But then to just go over this other side fast, it's going to be pretty much identical to the other one we just went over. But once again, we got PAL pods here, we have the fishing stations, and once again, some more PAL pods on this side. But now that we've actually gone over all the stuff on the outer ring, let's actually start talking about this main center area here. So starting off with the big thing on top, it's pretty obvious, but we do have a PAL expedition station at this base, so you do have that available to you. And something I'll always kind of mention to people who end up wanting to build a PAL expedition station at their base is that if you want to have this at your base, you need to build everything you want around it. That includes above and below it, because you won't be able to place stuff around it once the PAL expedition is actually placed. I always like kind of mentioning that because I always run into that issue, so hopefully that'll help some other people out. But moving on from the expedition station, as you guys saw, there is a door underneath here, and there is this big massive storage area all underneath here. So to just quickly go through this room here, we do have some stuff on these walls here. So going left to right here, we're gonna have the PAL gear station along with the schematic station, and then on the other side here, we're gonna have a repair station along with the PAL surgery table, if you were wondering where that's at. But then in here, as you guys saw, and like I mentioned, there's gonna be plenty of storage spots in here. I will say that they are all pretty much currently filled right now, because this was all the supplies that I've gathered throughout my time playing on this world, so you got plenty of supplies in all these chests. I'll also mention I'm not going to be actually talking about every single little thing in all these chests. I'm just going to do a little time lapse, just quickly looking through all of them. So if you want to either slow down the footage or pause it where you need to, definitely feel free to do that, but we are going to do that here quick. But before we do that, just to kind of show off this other side, we are going to have the same kind of things over on this side, so all this stuff is going to be identical. So before we actually start going through all these chests here fast, I do want to show off, we're going to be starting on the side here where the PAL expedition station is going to be facing forward. So we'll be starting on this side and kind of working our way through. But without further ado, let's start showing off everything in these chests. Alright, so now that we've gone over everything in all these chests, that is everything we need to go over on this floor. So without further ado, let's move on to the next one. So moving on to this next floor here, as you guys can see, we have a nice area here for breeding stations along with some ranches if you need them. But to just kind of go over everything quick, when you first come up this staircase here, you do have a nice little hangout spot here. And honestly, this is just an amazing view. I absolutely love how this looks, especially from this height. You can just really see everything, and you got a good view of the mountains, the tree. It just all looks so good. Once again, just like in the lower areas, if you really want to kind of just hang out and chill, you can do that and just look at the nice scenery. But then moving on from this little area right here, just like the lower floors, you do have the little mobile PAL box along with the monitoring stand, so you're able to do that all from up here as well. And then moving on to the rest of the stuff on this floor, like I already mentioned, we do have 2 ranches right here, and we do have a food box in the very center to store all that stuff you get from that. And then on both ends here, both going to be identical to each other. You're going to have breeding stations along with some incubation stations right behind them. But with a total of 8 of these large incubation stations along with the ones in each player's room, you should have plenty of spot to hatch any eggs you need. But then just quickly sprinting over to this other side, once again going to be identical to the other side with everything. And then once again, you do have a nice little lookout area, but you do have a nice change of scenery on this side. Just kind of looking at everything over here, once again, I just really love this view from this height. It all just looks fantastic, and you get a good view of the mountains and everything, including the volcano, and once again, it all just looks fantastic. But now moving on to the next floor here, and this is where all of your crops are going to be at. And don't worry, your pals should be able to get to these crops just fine. As you can see, our Bastigors are able to get here just fine, so you should be able to get all of your kind of working pals up here. But to actually show this area off a bit, once again, like I mentioned, you do have plenty of crops up here. You should have 3 of each crop, so plenty of spots to grow anything you need. And then you do have a total of 5 of these regular berry ones in here. You could probably delete a couple of these because you really don't need them, or you can just sell off the extra berries you get. But either way, you got all of these plots here as well. And then on each side here, we're gonna have Bastigors here. One is gonna have a food box, and one is gonna be a refrigerator in case you want anything stored that you don't want eaten. And that's gonna be the same thing that's going on over there. So you got 4 of those cooling stations up here. And then the only other crops that are gonna be here are gonna be these skill fruit orchards on each side. So you're gonna have 3 over here and 3 on the other side. And as you can see, there's plenty of fruits already on the trees for you. But with all these different crop plots, you should have plenty of spots to grow anything you need, whether it be skill fruits or any sort of plants you need. Then the only other stuff to mention in this area is going to be our mills on each side. So you're going to have 1 on each corner, and then you do have these right here on each side, just because I really didn't know where else to put them. Plus, of course, I love the symmetry. But kind of working opposite of how we did with the opposite floor, going over the outer ring now, you are going to have all these nice little lookout areas up here as well, so you can just kind of sit up here and look at everything. And what's nice about this floor is you have these different lookout stations on these opposite sides compared to the lower floor, so you get some different kind of views, and it all just looks fantastic from up here. But then I guess the only other thing to really mention is that this is going to be the Lillian statue you get from the schematic, and don't worry, that is available at this base if you download it. But then running back towards the staircase here, we are going to have another lookout spot, but instead of the Lillian statue, we're going to have the Moonlord statue, and I absolutely love this thing. I love how it just kind of bobs up and down. It just looks really cool. Once again, same kind of view from this side, just a little bit higher than that lower area here, but overall looks pretty nice. And then just kind of sprinting over to this other side, once again, another Lillian statue over here, but you get a nice view of this kind of pillar area on this side, and this all looks really good, especially with the water and stuff right here. And then finally, just running over to this last little lookout area over here, once again, got the Moonlord statue right here, and the view, as I keep saying over and over again, just looks fantastic. I apologize for saying that over and over, but it really does just look amazing from up here. But that is everything I have to show off on this floor here, and the last one to go over this one, and this was more of just a fun thing I wanted to do, but I did put a nice garden up here. So to show all this off real quick, starting off with the outer rim, we do have some flame cauldrons all on the outside here for some mood lighting. And then on each opposite corner, we do have one of the mobile PAL boxes, so that way you can access your pals even from all the way up here. And then for some more mood lighting, we do have some lanterns on all 4 of these corners along with the interior here, so you got plenty of lighting in here as well. But to actually talk about the garden now, as you guys can see, we have plenty of flower beds surrounding this entire area, and I think it looks really nice. I just like all the colors and everything. And then actually going into the little garden area here, as you can see, you have some little Demud statues to greet you, but you just come on in here and you have this nice little area to hang out. But to kind of work left to right here on this side, we do have some plants here to change it up from the flower beds, and I think that all looks great. Then we also have a bench right there along with some pillows on the floor, so that way you can sit down and enjoy the deer scare. And like I mentioned before, we do have some more lampposts in here. I decided to use the dual ones for in here and then the curved ones for out there, and I think that all looks pretty solid. Then moving to the center here, you do have the water fountain with the little Japanese lantern on top. I think that always looks nice. But then you have 4 benches all around here with some bonsai trees, so you can sit down and enjoy the fountain if you'd like. And then finally on this other side here, once again, we got some more lampposts. Then we have the same bench and pillows, but we're gonna have the Japanese hearth here instead of the deer scare. But just like the other side, if you really want to, you can just sit here and kind of enjoy all the scenery if you'd like to. But now that we've shown off this little garden area here, we're gonna just quickly hop on our good old friend Steve here, and we're gonna just show off the base from a bit of a distance here. So just kind of showing off this base from a distance, I think it turned out pretty solid. Obviously, it's a really massive structure, but when you're building a base for 8 players, you kind of gotta make sure everything fits. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how it all turned out. But now that we're all done kind of circling here, we're just gonna land up top in this garden area since I really like how this looks. But with that, that is gonna be everything I wanted to show you guys on this space. Once again, I am personally really happy with how this all turned out, and I hope you guys like it as well. But since that's everything I had to show you here, I'm gonna let the other me in our nice little studio take over from here. So with that tour all wrapped up, that's going to be everything I wanted to show y'all in this massive mega base I built. It was honestly really fun trying to fit everything 8 players would need into one single base, so I hope you guys liked it as well. But let me know you enjoyed this video by leaving a like down below, and also let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more base builds like this in the future. Finally, once again, thanks to Berrybyte for sponsoring today's video. Make sure to check them out in the description below. But that's all I have to say for now, so thank you all so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch all y'all in the next one. Take it easy, everybody.